your estate agency fees are too high. Today, I'm joined by Ian Preston, who is an estate agent from York, and he has his own thoughts on how to do fee objections with vendors. Talk to me, Ian.
So the very first thing about handling a fee objection is I think it's great news. Okay, if someone is
It's a buying signal.
it's a buying signal. It means we're talking. We're about to do the dance. So, as an agent, fear is probably the number one thing which I see when people deliver a premium fee.
Fear of what? Fear of what?
Rejection.
That's the killer.
Exactly.
Is that we are really the type of personality trait of a valuer tends to be a high D on the disc profile.
Yeah.
And their biggest fear is rejection.
Absolutely right.
Isn't it interesting that if you go to Australia, they're more DIs
Yeah.
on disc profiling? Again, Google it, anyone. Disc as in round thing.
Yeah.
They don't fear the rejection.
Yeah. And so that's the first thing. So when I see people deliver premium fees, so fees which are in general more expensive than competition, when they're nervous, they don't give the consumer the opportunity to object. So they say, our fee is 2%, and what it includes is this, that, the other, da, 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 and they keep talking, hoping that somehow that 2% fee is just going to be lost in the objection. So when someone's really confident, and I watch them, the fee's 2%, when would you like viewings to start? So let's imagine that we now get that fee objection. Now, the first thing to say is that if they can't tell the difference between you and another agent, they think that you are the same, they will not pay a higher fee. Yeah? So when someone says you're too expensive, what they're actually saying is, I can't tell the difference.
You haven't proved your worth.
Bingo. So the first thing which I would do is I would seek to clarify whether or not that is actually the case. So what I'm going to ask you is, okay, Chris, from the agents that you've seen, you've mentioned that someone else has quoted you 1% plus VAT. If I was also 1% plus VAT, so the fees were identical, who would you choose? Now, there's a moment of vulnerability there, isn't there? Because they might go, well, I'd probably choose the other guy, in which case you haven't differentiated your service, and we can rewind as to how to do that. But let's imagine that you have done the job and they're trying it on, and the reason that they're challenging you is because they want to use you, but they want to get it for a lower price. Okay, great. So say, well, I'd want to use you, Ian. So the next question is, why is that? Why is it that you'd want to choose me over them? And now what we're going to do is we're going to get them to repeat back to us the value that we've created. Oh, well, Ian, I really love the property launch example, where you said you could get me £8,000 more for the property. I really like the idea that I'm only going to have to tidy the house once. I really love the AI marketing campaign that you're going to run. I really love the fact that I'm only going to have one point of contact throughout the entire journey. Now, okay, that's a bit dream world, but they're going to be able to repeat all those things back, but you might have to prompt them. Okay, great. So, Chris, now that we've established that, these are the extra benefits you're getting, it would be fair, wouldn't it, to say that you'd expect to pay a premium more for those. So I'll give you one story now. I want you to imagine, Chris, that you've inherited a piece of fine art. Let's call it a Van Gogh. And you decide that the time has come to sell it. And this painting is worth, it's the most valuable asset you've got. It's worth 2 million quid. What I want you to consider is this. You can either take it to your local car boot sale, where it's going to cost you 10 quid to sell it, or you could take it to Sotheby's, and they're going to charge you 5% to sell it. Where would you go?
Sotheby's.
Okay. And why is that?
Because they can get the most for them.
That's it. And therefore, that's why I'm not going to do it for 1%. That's why I am 2%, because I'm great value for money.
Would it be fair to say that the fees are a problem in the valuer's head, not the vendor's head?
Certainly, if you looked at the stats, when you look at Peter Knight's, home moving trend surveys, they say that people choose the cheapest estate agent roughly 20% of the time. So there are people who will always choose the cheapest, and they're not my
That
customer.
number's never changed. It's
Yeah.
actually around 16, 17, but we're splitting hairs. but and that question's been asked in so many different ways, and that's the number that always comes in, 16 or 17.
16, 70%. Okay, so we're going to
1 in 6.
1 in 6. So we've got 1 in 6 people who is truly fee motivated. They're not my customer. Okay, that's okay.
So you've got to be comfortable that you're not for everyone.
Absolutely right. Yeah. So they're not my customer. But I reckon that valuers hear fee objections far more than 16 to 17% of the time, which is when you tell this to estate agents, they go, really? Now, why is that? Let's imagine I don't like you, Chris. Let's imagine that actually when you walked into my house, I felt you were arrogant and you didn't listen to what I had to say. At the end of the meeting, when I decide to choose someone else, am I going to tell you it's because you're arrogant and you didn't wipe your shoes?
No, you're not, because you don't want to feel uncomfortable by saying that.
That's right. So I'm going to tell you that you're too expensive and I've chosen someone who offered me a better deal. So the reason that agents hear your fee is too expensive more than is actually reported when they're not telling it to an agent is because it's about everything which we've done before the moment that matters, which dictates whether or not they're going to use that as an excuse and a reason.
What would your advice be to anyone wanting to change their mindset?
So changing your mindset's hard. Obviously, getting coaching and helping, having someone observe you and watch you. So if you're a valuer, get your branch manager to come out and see you. If you're a self-employed agent, get your mentor to come out and watch you and actually watch what you do. I think the differentiation of the fee occurs from the moment where the valuation is booked to the moment that the fee is delivered. And you have a window, which we probably don't have time to go through in this video, of how you can influence someone during that period of time. So it is the preparation prior to asking the question which dictates the response.
Interesting. I find it fascinating that I can count on those number of figures, the number of sales trainers that can help you with this.
Sure.
Scary, isn't it?
Isn't it?
When you consider there's 12, 13, 14,000 estate agency firms out there.
Absolutely.
Bonkers, isn't it?
Yeah.
We don't train our teams on sales psychology and
Well, it is bizarre, and it's one of the reasons actually that I've sort of ended up moving into this space. With some of the greenhouse clients who've gone live, is actually doing sales training with their valuers because it's the key, and especially when you're then trying to sell something different like flexible fees, where you're taking payments up front. You've actually got to go right back to the principles of I'm going to have to get my valuers comfortable with charging more than the competition.
interesting. Thank you for your time today.
Pleasure.